it's an achievement to them, and they go to town to make it look more or less like a, yeah, that's a very solid standard, policy, you know. So if you are a student and you have benefited, at least there should be 600,000 people. That is not a mean number. That's quite a number. So even if it's going to be just one or two, we should have them on this platform where you have thousands of people that are going to be watching. Do you get what I mean? So there should be one person or two persons who have received this student loan. Say, well, they paid my own, student loan. I mean, I got student loan, and it is this amount or this or that amount. I'm not saying they didn't. Don't get me wrong, because I mean, if we have to even like use the available data for any reasons, right? We can say they have less than maybe 30 at most 30,000 people who have taken their student loan based on the available data. So give and take 30,000. Do you know how many 30,000 you are going to see in 600,000 people? Yeah. So give or take, they spend 20 billion naira. Do you know how many 20 billion you are going to find in 104 billion naira? Like, this is why you ask the question, because the impact, for example, schools have reported that, more people have stopped their coming. Like, they could tell. There are some of these schools that those who are supposed to resume right now, they are not, because they don't have any money to continue their education anymore. So to Tifnumbu, if you don't believe it, then that's your own cup of tea. It's because you don't like him. Similarly, they are currently now like pushing the idea that they are going to increase your tariff, electricity tariff. Remember the effects of that on your household income and expenses, as well as your businesses in 2024, when they announced the first, after removal of a fuel subsidy. Then the next was to remove the electricity subsidy as well, remember? And then, now that is also going up again. Your electricity tariff is expected to go up by another 100 to 115%. Well, you probably should have read that somewhere too, if you are living in Nigeria. Just this month, your VAT is expected to also go up to 10%, and from 10% to 15% before the end of the year, if not 20%. So in all of this, there is no single incentive that is coming your way from this, heartless criminal, gang of Tinubu and his thieves. So there's so much that you would have to soak in 2025, as you have been told before, that whatever you have witnessed so far, is just a child's play to what is still to come. So, and I bet this is why some of these politicians, especially these northerners, believes that they have enough to nail in. As much as the Tinubu's sellers, the Ronukus, the Ronu Nazis, the Ronu bandits, right? The Yoruba Konus of Tinubu's clan, the Bat idiots. As much as some of them believes that nobody can remove Tinubu, they are even saying, if any attempt is made to remove Tinubu in 2027, for example, it's going to cause civil war in Nigeria. They've said a lot of things, by the way, because they believe that anybody grouping together right now, trying to remove Kolu, they are doing so against Yoruba. Have you heard that? Yeah, they are saying that right now. That Tinubu must use 8 years, whether they like it or not. And any attempt to remove Tinubu is called, it's going to be tagged war against Yoruba. So, which means the Yorubas are going to fight back. This Ronokuzo, they are so stupid enough that they live in their own delusion. So strong. But they are pushing it, right? Yes, they are. So, and this is where it becomes more interesting for somebody like me. I want to see what's an implosion it's going to be like. I want to see what what a self-destruct of a thing this is going to turn out to be. Now, we are going to watch them, right? Kill themselves, because that's what will happen at the end of the day, right? But here, like you have it on Mayegun's diary, Political as a diary, we keep keeping the record so that when that time comes, right, you won't be like, how did we get here? How did everything just kind of like happen so fast? No, it is not so fast. It is called brewing. Everything is brewing right now. It's like when you are brewing coffee, when you are brewing a beer, right? It is brewing right now. So you keep putting the pieces together, piece by piece. And that's what we do on Mayegun's Diary Political. Tinubu and his gang have responded to the gathering of Atiku and others. Let me take you to that gathering. I think we should start from that. The last weekend meetings of, it wasn't even a weekend, it was last week, a meeting of those who claimed that, Tinubu has to go. And if he has to go, right, it must be done in such a coalition-like arrangement. But the problem is, who is now going to lead their coalition? Who is going to lead the coalition? Is it going to be Atiku, El Rufaya, Kwakwanso, or Peter Obi? No idea yet. Somebody said, this is Segun Showumi. It was on Arise TV, I think it was yesterday, when he said any coalition they are building to remove Kolu that is not built around Obi is a waste of time. There's so much to unpack. But let's start with, okay, which one should we start with? The advice of Dele Farotimi that quietly warned everyone that, you see, if care is not taken, right, the system that produced Tinubu it will produce more of Tinubus and the worst of the worst. Whatever Nigeria is currently facing, this is just a tip of the iceberg, they say, a tip of it, right? And let's go to that gathering where Atiku was speaking. Let's start with this.
Opening ceremonies, because I had just arrived early this morning from Europe, and therefore needed a little bit of time to rest. And now I would like to take us back to the history of political parties to be able to really understand their respective roles, in the years. First of all, the issue nowadays of political parties started in the late 80s. Then the main objective was to drive away the military. I spent most of my political career in forming political parties. First of all, to send away the military and return the country to democracy. And then the second phase is what we are today discussing, the role of political parties in governance. And I can tell you that when the establishment of political parties started in order to send away the military, I was in the forefront together with the late Shehu Yaradua. Basically, main objective was, look, we got to send the military out of governance. Of course, we were played around by the military several times. We formed political parties. They will dissolve them. And then eventually, we ended up with two political parties set up by the military themselves, the SDP and NRC. Of course, Our own political wing, which was the People's Front of Nigeria, formed an alliance with PSP, and we came into the SDP. And these were the two political parties, the SDP and the NRC, that now fought the military out of power, and then power was handed over to the civilians or the supposedly democratic parties. Now, since getting into power, the role of political parties have evolved. Erdogan as president. Those of you, of course, when we were in either primary or secondary school, we were taught that if you have 49.5, you round it up to 50. Not so, but yes, but the Electoral Commission of Turkey refused to round it up and give Erdogan a victory. They insisted on a run-up. And when they had the run-up, the man who got 4% supported Erdogan. Believe me, I was watching 24 hours. When the second result came out, Erdogan won by the 4% that was given to him by the person who came second. Now that is the credibility of an electoral process. Do we have the same thing here? Like somebody said, it is the court now who declares our candidates or winners, not the people. So we really are at a crossroads, on this democratic experiment. We either decide we want to be democratic or we decide to abandon it. So I believe that this seminar or conference is germane, is important, is historic, but we cannot leave this place without really marshalling out, a proposed action plan on how to get our electoral act amended and how to return the rights of the Nigerian people to elect whom they want to elect, not for the courts to determine who they have elected. Well, I think already the current system has been bastardized. Like Malam Nasser Rufai said, there is need for the entire opposition political parties to think a way out of this situation. Otherwise, we may end up with no democracy at all. God forbid. Again, maybe history is about to repeat itself. That was the threat the rest of the other political parties were facing when APC was formed. We have to learn from that historical fact. Otherwise, I don't see us proffering a solution to the current, challenges we are facing politically, electorally, and governance-wise. One aspect that was highlighted by one of the speakers here is about party funding. It all depends on the leadership, of the political parties. I remember when I was in office, from the Northeast, there was no member of the party who was holding any position that was not made to subscribe to the party on a monthly basis. And when a comparative analysis was made, the Northeast was declared as the best because we had everybody contributing, from a councillor to the chairman, to state assembly members, to national assembly members, to appointed government members, whether on boards or parastatals. Now, party funding is extremely important because that strengthens the ability of the party to challenge whatever situation it finds itself.
I know. Because of our time. Because there was so much that happened within that gathering, okay? There were people there as well, asking them questions, making suggestions, apart from these guys in the front, all about the 2027. Now, Atiku mentioned something about opposition coming together, form a coalition so that they can have a common front that can then tackle things like electoral reform and any other reforms that they may want to push. Well, it sounds kind of like, it sounds like an interesting thing. We have said something like that on this platform a few times to show that if you really want to challenge Tinubu and APC, which NSF is almost like in a corrupt system like that of Nigeria, right? It's just an effort in futility. But to them, politicians, there's no harm in trying. But if you want to challenge Tinubu, it can't be the game that is going to set the rules. Sure, you get. So you first have to, as supposed said opposition, right? You are supposed to first demand for the total public burning of that fake 1999 constitution. Do amend it, burn it down, burn the entire thing. Demand for a process that will kind of give you the fresh constitution. All of this can be done within a year, honestly. You have to ask and demand for the immediate dissolution of everything that has to do with the current INEC in Nigeria, like completely, from Mamudu Yakubu and the rest of them, all of them sacked, removed, to the last person who is appointed INEC, what have you, in any state in Nigeria. That's the second one. Then as you are writing constitution, you are writing electoral acts, the one that will then really guide your election to now say, okay, this process of the election must be conducted and concluded in a day, right? And the result must be whatever process you want to agree to, here you get. As an opposition that is strong enough, right? You will have to demand for that now, not you all getting ready to say you want to go for an election that Yakubu is setting the rules. Some of the signs that you can be like, okay, maybe we can take them serious if they begin to act this way. Let's go back into that hall, okay? So I think two guys asked Atiku a question, but the first one, here, this guy.
His Excellency, the former Vice President, and it's about the notion of rubber stamp National Assembly. And you made reference that you wrote a letter to the National Assembly regarding electoral reform, and you submitted it to a committee. And the question is, that the best strategy? Because in the institutional design of National Assembly, that is where you have caucuses and the party politics is made manifest. As a leader of a political party, is that the best strategy, of engaging the opposition members in parliament to be able to achieve your goal? Because as we speak today, the opposition coalition caucus in the National Assembly, from the House of Rep to the Senate, is particularly House of Rep, is actually more than 50%. And the National Assembly is a place where if you take a decision by voice vote, they can actually move for a divide. And the point is that the opposition members in the National Assembly seem not to have leadership that is galvanizing, driving them to make change, the kind of change that you desire.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, you will respond to him and use that to round up your 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Let me respond to what you claim about, the opposition parties in the National Assembly. Immediately after the elections, results were announced